So welcome to Midweek Experiments in Faithfulness. This is a weekly facilitated spiritual practice with a Quaker flavor and an experimental ethos. My name is Jen Higgins-Newman, and I'm the program manager at Beacon Hill Friends House, a Quaker Center for Learning and Action and a residential community of about 20 people who live according to Quaker values. Tonight, we have Holly Baldwin with Chrysalis Time. To quote Colin Saxton from the 2005 World Gathering of Young Friends, "Are you seeking the comfort of the womb, or are you ready for new birth?" Whether you have been in a stay-at-home cocoon or whether you have been busy out in the world, the current moment is one of profound transformation in the world around us. The world will never be the same, and we won't either. In this session, Holly will lead us in creating a chrysalis space to listen for the holy invitations that are for you in this time. We will share tools for keeping these invitations close to your heart amidst the pressures of daily life. Holly is a Quaker who encourages individuals and groups in their spiritual lives. She offers workshops and retreats and is training as a spiritual director. She loved putting her gifts to use as the director of Beacon Hill Friends House from 2006 to 2017. She now lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Again, welcome. We're happy that you've joined us, and Holly, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Beacon Hill Friends House, for creating a space where I get to share again from my life in depth and meet you all in your life in depth. Tonight, I'm going to share some approaches that I use to help ground myself in a sense of deeper purpose, which is something that I've needed more help than usual with during these past several months. So in the Bible half hour at a Quaker gathering in July, friend Carl Magruder talked about the resurrection, and in so doing, he talked about the caterpillar. And last week, for those who were at New England Yearly Meeting, a gathering of Quakers in New England, I heard that Zena Fafriam shared a similar message at Yearly Meeting in 2017. Both friends tell us that in the chrysalis, the body of the caterpillar has to turn into a gooey mess before emerging as that amazing butterfly. In this soup of imaginal cells, the caterpillar recreates itself into an entirely different entity. I don't know what your past several months has been like. Maybe you have been in a stay-at-home cocoon, or maybe you've been out in the world on the front lines or something else. In this strange year of 2020, I have often felt myself in a gooey mess paralysis. Exhaustion overwhelms my body faster than I am used to. Depression, or at least despair, is either present or never far off in the recent past or the near future. That's not all. I also have glimpses of idealism and hope, like, what if I created something beautiful out of this mess? Or, look at what Beacon Hill Friends House is doing that we can gather here from all across the country. We couldn't do that before. Both spaces, both the despair and the hope, are ones that I occupy these days. The quote that Jen shared at the beginning is a similar feeling kind of metaphor from Colin Saxton. Are you seeking the comfort of the womb, or are you ready for new birth? We all have womb times in our lives, times when we need protection and nurture from a source that's both outside of ourselves and yet a part of us. And while we need the womb, we can't stay forever in the womb. Birth has to come at some point when the time is right. It's not healthy for us to stay inside too long. You may have noticed. So in this womb time, this cocoon time, chrysalis time, do you have any glimpses of the new being that you are becoming? That may feel like a challenging question. It may feel so dark in your cocoon that you can't possibly think of anything that you might be becoming. But I'll bet that something is at work within you. This evening, we'll take some time to contemplate and see if we can find any glimpses of the imaginal selves that are at work reforming our being. I will give you some queries in the Quaker tradition and invite you to 10 minutes of contemplation to listen to the voice of wisdom within you. The first one is, when have you felt most alive during the past few months? Now, you might recognize those as times when you felt moved to do something unusual for you. You might have felt an especially strong emotion, sorrow, anger, joy, or something else. You might have felt connected to others, to the world, to God. You might have felt a surprising energy. The second query, when you reflect on these times of aliveness, do you see an invitation? The third query, have you felt any nudges to make changes in your life? These don't have to be big changes. It could be things like, yeah, do more of this, or don't do that so much anymore, do less of that. And the fourth query, considering the moments of aliveness and nudges, what is your sense of how you may be being reshaped and made new in this time? During this time, you may want to write, to draw, to move, to sit and breathe. Whatever you want to do is fine. However, you can open your heart to the deeper wisdom within you. If it will open your heart more to turn off your video, then feel free to go ahead and do that. And I'll call us back in 10 minutes. My definition of faithfulness is a process of identifying the holy invitations in your life and making space in your life to respond to those invitations. I've got one more writing assignment for you. And that is, let's just take a moment to distill what you've been reflecting on into a succinct form so you can hold on to it after this session. You can finish these sentences, perhaps. The holy invitation in my life is fill in the blank. Or right now, faithfulness in my life looks like fill in the blank. For a long time, when I was working at Beacon Hill Friends House, my job was closely connected to my call. And so it was very clear most of the time, why I was doing what I was doing. Now I have a couple of jobs, and there are things that more support me so that I can pursue the spiritual work in my life. And I like that, but it can be easy for me to lose the thread of why I'm doing something, especially during this strange existential angst time of COVID. So I created a little worksheet that I fill out most mornings. You can't really see it, but Jen will share. And it helps me to figure out what the priorities are in my day, driven less by sort of a cooperation between the calendar and between the calendar and between my prayer life. But here Jen is sharing one that I have filled out from Monday. So I put in this, under that green line, I put in something that could be a variation on what you've written down in your one sentence. Something that I want to remind myself about. So in this case, the call to stay faithful is encouraging and deepening spiritual growth and courageousness. So if I forget what I'm about, I have it written down. So I'm never too far off. And then under what kind of day is it, I put some sort of theme for that day. So in this example, I was feeling in my body that my neglect of chores was causing me anxiety and stress, and that was going to get in the way of being productive in my work and ministry. So I was like, well, I had other things that I was going to do today, but today I'll do the bare minimum for work and really focus on getting the house to be the right container for me to do what other things are important. Other times I might put under there something like regrounding in my sense of leading or maintaining in my paid work tasks, which free me up to do ministry or my spiritual work or the more important things, something like that. And then in that main body where I've got the 3 dots there, instead I have an endless to-do list. See, on the back of, you're looking at that very same piece of paper. On the back of it, I have my endless to-do list. But I'm never going to finish the endless to-do list. So at the beginning of the day, I try and focus in on what are the things that are really important for me to do that day. And I try and limit it to 3. Sometimes I cluster them around the different areas of my life. And so that I know what the main priorities are. And again, this is a balance of paying attention to my work to-do list or various things that the calendar is telling me need to be done and what comes up for me when I pray about the day. And then finally, at the bottom, this is also a really important part of it, is what might get in the way of faithfulness today and what is my plan about that. And I don't know that my notes are going to be very helpful to you there. I've been doing things in 2 hours of time on and half an hour of time off. And usually that means 2 hours of time in front of the computer doing worky things and half an hour in the kitchen or around the house. And so on Monday, when I felt the house calling out to me to get it in order, I just swapped them as long as my work schedule would allow it. So it's a tool that I have found helpful. You may or may not find it helpful, and there it is. Adapt it or ignore it as your heart and mind invite you. Also, I want to share, if you like where I'm going with that, I think I was influenced. I haven't spent a lot of time with this project, but there's a woman in Albuquerque named Annie Sanchez, and she has a project called Clarity Pages. And I sort of have some sort of aspirational crush on Annie Sanchez. I think she's doing really cool work. And though I haven't used Clarity Pages, I think that the existence of Clarity Pages shows up in my faithfulness sheets. And to close, I'm going to share a poem/practice that is good for the cocoon space that is nighttime. In the Ignatian tradition, there's a practice called examen. Examen is a practice that helps you look back at the day for where God has been moving in your life. And the poem that I have is of that tradition, it seems to me, but it's in a more open and accessible format. It's by the poet John O'Donohue, and it's from this book, To Bless the Space Between Us. The poem has a lot of questions in it. more than you'll be able to take in this evening. And let them just wash over you. And I'll leave a few minutes for holding them after I finish reading. And just sit with the ones that stick to you, the ones that are visiting you. It's called, At the End of the Day, a Mirror of Questions. What dreams did I create last night? Where did my eyes linger today? Where was I blind? Where was I hurt without anyone noticing? What did I learn today? What did I read? What new thoughts visited me? What differences did I notice in those closest to me? Whom did I neglect? Where did I neglect myself? What did I begin today that might endure? How were my conversations? What did I do today for the poor and the excluded? Did I remember the dead today? Where could I have exposed myself to the risk of something different? Where did I allow myself to receive love? With whom today did I feel most myself? What reached me today? How deep did it imprint? Who saw me today? What visitations had I from the past and from the future? What did I avoid today? From the evidence, why was I given this day?